What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. We have another video for you with a 21 Sharp. This here's a Savage Mark II, and supposedly I don't know how to shoot it. I say that kind of jokingly, but I'm also saying that kind of seriously. So we just put out a video on this rifle, pretty much an unboxing, first shots. We were just getting a basic feel for it. I had a very hillbilly setup for my scope, I will admit that. I had a cheapy 22 Magnum scope on it that I used for varmint hunting off of a Ruger 1022. I had my scope mount set up where some people probably had a total seizure over that, but it works for me. Anyway, during that testing, I told you guys I would go ahead and get it out to 100 yards after putting a better scope situation on it. I think I mentioned that I'd be putting a lead sled under it. Definitely in the comment section, a lot of people were making fun of my bag situation. Maybe not making fun of totally, but definitely telling me that I was wrong for the way that I was shooting. We shot at 25 yards and we shot at 50 yards, and I was using this busted up Caldwell bag setup, and I had the rifle set here in the rest like this, and I did not have a rear bag. And apparently to some people that's a no-no. So I'll explain that really fast. I'll lean over here so you can see it. When you pinch your elbow down to your side and you put the buttstock in your rifle a certain way, it creates a natural bag type of a rest in your armpit. I do know how to shoot. I know how to zero rifles. I know how to have trigger control, and I do know how to settle my sights. I know what the natural arc of motion is with your heartbeat moving the gun. That actually does happen, and it definitely happens more with extra zooms. I know how to handle all that. My crosshair was in the bullseye for all of those shots, so I felt that that was true accuracy. We actually did have a couple flyers. Those, I believe, were truly out of this gun. So I mentioned that the gun was possibly not that accurate, and a lot of people came to the defense of the Savage Mark II. I can understand that. The gun's pretty popular. A lot of people have it. And in 22 long rifle, I can imagine that they're pretty darn accurate for a lot of people. So today's video is going to go ahead and reshoot this 50-yard situation and then take it back out to the 100-yard situation, because I have it in a lead sled today. There's going to be no excuses. When we shoot this gun, I'm going to have camera guy running the bolt so that I don't even have to change my cheek weld, my grip, or anything. I'm going to have to make micro adjustments because lead sleds are not perfect from shot to shot. I don't have this thing totally strapped down. There's not a good way to do that without touching the scope or the barrel and interfering with the harmonics possibly. But I'm going to do everything I can to take the best shots I can. And it's not that windy of a day. You'll hear a few gusts or see the trees move, but the wind is going straight back towards those targets. So wind is not a factor. It's only a 25 grain projectile, copper matrix. So I think compressed copper. I'm sure there might be a little wind issue here and there, but it shouldn't affect it today. I'm going to do 2 groups at 50 yards and 2 groups at 100 yards. We're going to keep the footage rolling the whole time. No shenanigans. You guys are going to see the footage from the side. You guys are going to see camera guys cycling the bolt. And it's going to take me a little bit of time, so be patient. But I want to get really good groups. I will guarantee you right now that I understand what parallax is also. And I'm trying to take into consideration, account for, mitigate, whatever you want to say, parallax. That's why I don't want to move my cheek weld. And I have a good situational awareness of where my eye is in the scope circle, so I can try to not let parallax affect me. I'm just saying all this because this is a new rifle. A lot of people are going to be watching this video. I don't want people to think I'm not giving the rifle a fair shake or the ammunition a fair shake. And I really don't want people to assume, I mean, I know everybody knows I do hillbilly things, and that's fine. We do things unconventional on this channel. But when it comes time to getting serious, I know how to shoot. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not the best shooter. I'm not a competition shooter or anything like that. But when it comes to getting accuracy, zeroing, handgun shooting, bullseye shooting, I do very well in my opinion. And then it's kind of funny when people get in the comment section from that side of the screen and they want to try to tell me what I see through the scope window. So we're going to put all that to rest today. I promise you. I will shut up now. Let's get to shooting. We're just going to roll through this. 50 yards, 2 shots, or 2 groups, 100 yards, 2 groups. Let's see what happens. Shot number 1. We had 1761 on the chronograph. 1886 on the chronograph. 1853 on the chronograph. 1839. And 1866. So just so you guys know, on this target here was our zeroing shot. We just wanted to make sure we were somewhere in there. Over here on the Dirty Bird targets, yesterday, I'm going to go ahead and show you this group yesterday. This is the group I had. This was my best group yesterday, and that was 3 shots in that group. Let me measure that again for you. I don't remember what I measured it on the other video, but I can tell you right now, I can measure it here at about a 1/4 inch. Let's say 0.23 to 0.25. If we go 2.5, that's kind of exaggerating it just a hair. So 1/4 inch group here, that was pretty good. Now, yes, that was at 25 yards, not 50. But moving up here to 50 with a lead sled, you would assume that I should be able to group pretty darn good. I told you guys I would do a lead sled at some point, at least in the comments I told you that. Now, I am no lead sled expert, but I had Camera Guy running the bolt for me, so I didn't have to change the grip on my gun, so I could keep my cheek weld exactly where it was, so I could minimize the movement in the gun. It's still, even with a lead sled, micro movements do happen. You saw me do a little bit of adjustment, and parallax does happen in that scope. That particular scope, there is a slight amount of parallax if I move my head at all. With all that being said, I was absolutely inside of this red every single time, and pretty much I made sure I had my eye at the exact same point to alleviate any parallax issues. So I was truly aiming in this red. The rifle was dead still every single time I pulled the trigger, and here's where we ended up. So right there would be a 1 1/4 inch group, and we're just a little bit bigger than that. I'd say we can go ahead and say it's a 1.278. So out there at 100 yards right now, based off of just this, we're going to have a 2.5 inch group. But just for confirmation, let's go ahead and put 5 more here at 50 yards. All right, here we go again. or 1753. And things still change. Not by much, but not, holy crap. That's pretty wild. If that's real, which I assume that's got to be real. We have 1900 on that one, and that one was a wild shot, if I'm seeing things correctly. We did see one of those shots happen on our previous test where people blamed, maybe my rear bag, and even I questioned myself for a half of a moment, but it's just way too off for me. There's absolutely no way. Even with parallax, I'm moving my head around right now. I black out on a scope. For anybody that doesn't know, if you come out of the scope view enough, you instantly just black out. It shades over. And I can't even make the crosshairs touch where that bullet just landed. All right, 1847. That was a good shot there. 1868. That one landed where it was supposed to. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got one more to go. And I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I see it now. 1874. All right, let's go take a look at that target. Well, there you go. 2.4-inch group. That means out there at 100 yards, this thing would be a 4.8-inch group. That's not good. I bet you Savage and Winchester both wished I did not take that second group. That is way worse than the first group. I don't know if we're starting to experience fouling. I'm gonna have to check that. You know, this is not lead. This is the sintered copper or copper matrix, whatever they're gonna call it. But I don't know if that's creating a different type of fouling. We're gonna have to see. That shot right there, I'm telling you, when I was looking through the scope, I could not make the crosshairs touch that hole without completely blacking out my scope. I mean, it blacked out when I tried to make the crosshairs go here. No way could I do parallax movement to get it over here. That was a complete flyer. The rifle was dead set right there. In my opinion, that is so unacceptable. That's crazy. I will measure that off of the center of the bullseye. I mean, we're at 1.836 inches off of that bullseye where I'm supposed to be. So if you're hunting small game at 50 yards, that's a big difference right there. If you go for a headshot on a squirrel, if you're shooting chipmunks in the garden or something like that, you will miss that animal. If you go for a body shot, you'll probably hit him underneath, the chest, or you'll hit him across his back or something like that. That would suck. So I don't like this accuracy as a target or as a hunting round at the moment. Let's move it out to 100 yards and just see what happens. But I'm telling you guys, I got a nice scope on there. Everything's Loctited and nice. There's no recoil on this gun. It's behind a lead sled. I know how to shoot. I'm controlling my parallax. I just don't know what else to do. All right, let's see what happens at 100 yards. There is wind. You can see the trees moving. I'll shoot in between gusts for the 50-yard shot or 100-yard shots. But keep in mind, the wind is moving straight forward towards the target. I don't have a left to right wind to deal with today. And we are over on the paper to the right. We have 1874 on the chronograph. Don't know if that actually picked that shot up. It might not have because I've moved the sled. That might have been the old shot. And no, the chronograph's not picking it up, but that's all right. We have enough shots for now on that. I just want accuracy. $18.48. It actually did pick it up that time. Did not pick it up that time. Did not pick it up that time. Was that 5 shots, camera guy? That was 5 shots. All right, that was 5 shots, and I can tell you right now, that looks like crap. Let's go take a look. All right, there's our group at 100. We have 2.196 inches, basically 2.2, but I was aiming right here. Here is our shift. When we moved out the 100 yards, our shift of impact. Now, here's something interesting. I took my original spotting shot here just to make sure that the drop was what they say it is. They say it's a 3 something, maybe 3.5 inch drop. I'll have to look it up. Let's go ahead and put 3.5 inches on the calipers. That would be relatively close to what the drop would be. However, keep in mind I was aimed right. Well, I'll show you like this. I was aimed right here. We dropped here and we came over here to the left. Keep in mind I said the wind is going straight forward. But then when I took my shots over here and I was aiming here, I ended up down but to the right. So that's completely wacky. It is kind of more in line with that 3-inch drop, but overall, let's see what our group ended up being. I was going to aim at this target, but we'll save that for the next 5 because there will be a next 5. The reason I didn't aim for that one is because I figured it would drift down here and get into that group. So I aimed at this one instead, and it ended up going to the right. So making no sense to me right now. But like I said, 2.2 is what I can definitely get out of it. I'm going to measure it again. That's not the greatest group. If we went ahead and took one of them out of there to try to get a better group, we might be able to group this thing at 1.4. Or if we threw that one out, we could group it at 1.55. But no matter what, it's garbage. So this group is total garbage at 100 yards. I don't think that this is good accuracy for hunting animals, and we had everything controlled. We're in a lead sled. It's not moving. The crosshairs are in here. Like I said, we're controlling parallax. I have camera guys cycling the gun for me, so I don't even have to take my chin off the gun for the most part. Let's do it one more time, aimed up here at this target, see where we end up. All right, middle, second from top target. $18.65 on the chronograph. No chronograph reading that time. No chronograph reading that time. And no chronograph reading that time. Was that 5, camera guy?
One more.
One more. Una más. Jamie, that's for you. Una más. All right, there we go. No chronograph reading. And I can kind of see a group down there. It's not looking the greatest, but let's go measure it. All right, you guys saw it live on TV here. When we were aiming here, we got down here. That's just the shift it was, no big deal, but the group size was 2.2 inches. Now, we have absolute confirmation here when we're aiming here. Same kind of a shift, but we have absolute confirmation. When I set this thing here, that's actually being generous by saying absolute confirmation. But we have just a hair larger than 2.2. We can go ahead to squeak it out to about 2.22. I would say, yeah, that's still not doing it. So a little bit farther, let's actually go out to 2.33. So basically the same group as we had over here. We had a smaller group within a larger group, within a larger group. I mean, that's just what it is, guys. That is me as a shooter with that rifle, with that ammunition, with that scope mount, holding that scope today in these conditions on these targets. I mean, that's all we can say. That's what it grouped at. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That's the best that I can personally do with grouping. Maybe other people would have different results. Maybe we'll have different results with different ammunition. A lot of people defended this rifle and said that this Savage Mark II is actually a very accurate rifle. That may be the case in other cartridges. That may be the case in just other rifles other than this. Maybe I do need to go through a whole bunch of barrel fouling, and cleaning before it finally gets right. In my opinion, your average person is not going to do that. They're not going to go through that. This thing is just not looking like a very precision cartridge to me, and that was one of the selling points. I'm personally going to call between the ammo or the rifle or both of them together, I'm just going to call BS. So forget the 100-yard group. Even at 50 yards, we're not doing that great. At 25 yards and at 50 yards, I can hang out of my window all day long, my kitchen window, my bedroom window, and shoot things out of the garden all day long. I can shoot squirrels and chipmunks on the move with a 17 HMR in the head. A squirrel standing still at 50 yards at that backstop is pretty much where it's at from my back porch. I can shoot a squirrel in the head every day with a Ruger precision rifle loaded up with the Stingers, which is very equivalent to this energy. And then I can use the same thing in 17 HMR. I can use iron sights on a 522 Viper, which most people would be considering not a very accurate firearm. It's just a polymer old school wonder, but I can hit a chipmunk in the head at 25 yards easily with that thing. So why is this thing any different, any special to me? Maybe if this thing gets chambered in something like a Ruger precision rifle, it might be a little different story. Like I said, maybe it's just the ammunition. I was going to go ahead and order a Boyd's @1 stock and see if I can make this thing a really cool rifle, put a nice optic on it, because this isn't its dedicated optic. But after seeing this, I'm going to hold off. I think I'm just going to keep this thing for testing. I don't want to put any more money into this rifle, not unless we start getting way better groups with some kind of other ammo. And for everybody in the previous video that was getting on to me about not having the rear bag and I don't know how to shoot for groups, well, here's something really interesting. So yesterday, this was some grouping. This was from today's when we overlapped. So take that, all that out of there. Yesterday, here was a group that I did with the improper shooting techniques. And then here are today's groups that I did with the supposedly proper lead sled shooting techniques. I have that group and I have that group. So basically the same group, and taking away the baloney from the earlier or today's longer shots, the same group. I have the same group between my bad shooting techniques and my absolutely perfect camera guy assisted lead sled aided shooting techniques. So please put that to rest when you guys say that I'm not shooting properly. I know how to shoot. Well, that's all I got for you on this subject, guys. I'm not going to beat it to death until I get some other ammunition to try in it. And if that's crappy, then I'll beat it to death some more. But for now, we're just going to move on to things like ballistic gel testing, going through other things. Like I told you, I'll put this through bone. I'm definitely going to have this thing set up to go ahead and shoot some varmints. I'll give you guys reports on how it works on that. I got to make sure I have a perfect zero at about 25 yards because it's not going to be very consistent outside of that. But no matter what, it's interesting. It's something new. We're just taking a look, and maybe I'm saving you guys some money. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed these types of videos. And until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.